All right, guys, in this video, we're going to be breaking down another piece of Burning the Boats by Matt Higgins. And this one is really near and dear to me. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to read through it once, then we're going to come back and break it down line by line. So let's take a look here. That we see that there's, check this out, there's nearly a million Google results with searching the terms marathon blues. And science has in fact proven that the marathon runner feels a tremendous emotional letdown after the race is over. There's an inevitable melancholy when you reach something you've been training and planning for. The anticipation outweighs the accomplishment. The pursuit of what gives you joy and the act of whether a marathon or closing a big deal at work, it can never live up to the anticipation. In fact, Caitlin Woolley and Ayelet Fishbach, whose research on the power of discomfort I mentioned in chapter 4, are also the authors of a paper titled The Experience Matters More Than You Think, finding in their research that how we feel when actually performing an activity matters more than how we think we'll feel beforehand or what we remember it as afterwards. Even Olympians feel the same effect. Win or lose, they feel psychologically depleted when they return home. They are prone to serious depression, especially if they don't have a plan for what comes next. The dirty little secret of a successful life is that you can never actually get to a happy place to stop working, stop trying, stop aiming for more. Success and contentment are built upon perpetual pursuits. Achieving at an even higher level doesn't mitigate this. And there's been a tremendous amount of research done around the letdown people feel after big achievements, as been written in Harvard Business Review. To be fully engaged, we need to experience an ongoing sense of growth on the job. Now, that's a handful I just read, and it's true. Something that I actually noticed here for myself, I just finished running my very first 100-mile marathon a few days back, actually. It's maybe about 4 days ago, 3 days ago, that I finished running my first 100-miler. And everyone had told me like to be on the lookout for this kind of post-marathon depression, and it hit me yesterday, where I wasn't depressed, but I mean, my body was physically recovered, but mentally I was just depleted of all motivation to do anything. I spent almost the first 12, 14 hours of the day not opening my mouth to say a single word. I went and worked in a coffee shop, and I just, and it was actually pretty peaceful. It was very, I enjoyed it personally. I enjoy silence. However, I did get to feel the energy of, wow, I don't actually want to go in people right now. I don't want to be around people. Luckily for me, I've already have the next couple of things mapped out, but I was able to feel just how easy it is to be lost after an experience like this. So let's go and break this down line by line, where he says there's nearly a million Google results on people searching marathon blues. So people looking up, and I encourage you, go search marathon blues. And science has in fact proven that the marathon runners feel a tremendous emotional letdown after the race is over. And again, I can speak from personal experience that I did have this moment where after hitting the 100 miles, I don't know what I was expecting, quite frankly. I didn't really set too much of an expectation on what it would feel like after it was done. But I do remember when it was finished, just, it was a little internally anticlimactic. Like, yes, my friends were there at the finish line to cheer me on, and we jumped around and we did the thing. But then, I mean, within 4 minutes of it being done, I'm packing up my bags, getting in the car, and driving home to go on about my life. And that was it. It was over. It was done. So let's bring it back here, right? Because this is inevitable, right? This inevitable melancholy when you reach something that you've been training for, that you've been planning for. The anticipation outweighs the accomplishment. So sometimes what happens is we build it up in our heads that it's going to feel a certain way, that it's going to be a certain way. And so reality cannot beat our imagination. And this is something that you should understand, because as you go out and you do greater and greater things, what's going to start to happen is you're going to notice this from other people. People are going to see your accomplishments, and they're going to start to build you up on a pedestal. And their imagination is going to start to do and say things about you that when they finally meet you in person, it's almost going to feel like, wow, this person looks at me in such a way that I can never live up to the way they see me. Because the imagination, the anticipation is always much greater and grander than reality, because it's not limited by any reality. So The pursuit of what gives you joy and the act of whether a marathon or closing a big deal at work, it can never live up to the anticipation. In fact, these two, Caitlin Woolley and Ayelet Fishbach, whose research on the power of discomfort I mentioned in chapter 4, they also authored a book, a writing, The Experience Matters More Than You Think. And basically, what that writing is saying is it's important for you to pay attention to how you feel during the actual activity. It can't just all be for the end result. You have to enjoy the process, and you've heard that before, that the journey is more worth it than like the destination. So this is something I want y'all to carry with you into the year. It's your goal can be, I want to go make $1 million. And this actually, again, let's go back into my life. Let's go back into my business. I always wanted to make more money, and I remembered I wanted to go and get like a check for $20,000. I wanted to do a single deal that would produce me $20,000. Well, I had a deal that produced me $40,000, a little more than $40,000 in a single transaction, and yet it felt so empty. I didn't like the way the transaction happened. I didn't like anything about the deal, to be honest. Besides getting paid. Getting paid was the only benefit to me on that deal. Getting paid and being able to pay somebody out on their first deal, being able to pay one of my employees $6,000. That was really cool. But besides those things, I didn't like the actual process of how we had to get the deal, following through, the stress involved. That it wasn't for me. And actually, since then, I've actually left that business model pretty much behind, because if you're not enjoying the process, then is it really worth it? When you look at people who are the greatest in their industry, whether it's musicians, artists, sport athletes, you're going to find people who not just enjoy the game, but they enjoy practice. They enjoy the process. They're in love with every aspect of what they do. And that's what gives them the capacity to show up day in and day out. If you don't love what you're doing and you're only doing it as a means to an end, I'm telling you right now, you don't need to quit it immediately, but you should begin looking for the thing that you are passionate about. So here it says even Olympians feel the same effect, right? So it's not like we make the mistake of thinking, well, if I just win big enough, then this won't happen. If I just earn enough money, then this won't happen. I have a friend who sold a business for over 9 figures. He had a 9-figure exit, and it only took about 4 to 5 months before he was absolutely depressed, sitting at home with all his money, because everybody else was still out building and working and doing things. And so there was only so much partying and beaching and drinks that you can have before you need purpose again. So even Olympians feel the same effect. Win or lose, they feel psychologically depleted when they've returned home and are prone to serious depression, especially if they don't have a plan for what comes next. So it's not that you don't go and climb the mountain. It's climb the mountain, but understand that after you get to the top of the mountain, what's next? Start mapping out. In fact, my brother, I got a lot of stories around this one apparently. My brother, a couple of years back, I remember having a conversation with him because he was always somebody that when he wanted something, he would be able to go out and get it. But in recent years, it felt like he had plateaued. And so I asked him about that. And he said, when he found out he was having my nephew, his first son, he got into this panic mode of he needs to go and earn more. And he was maybe earning around $60,000, $70,000. And he was like, I need to earn more. So he doubled his income, earning around like $120,000, $130,000. And he did that in a relatively short period of time, in just a matter of a couple of months. And after it had happened, he was in a position where he got comfortable. He made it to the top of this mountain, and then he stabilized. And with that stabilization starts the downfall, because there is no real stabilization, right? If you think things are stable, if you're not putting in effort anymore, that means you're sliding downhill. And so he was starting to slide downhill. And it occurred to him when I asked him, I said, what happened? He says, I never set a new goal. I never made a new target. So after he hit his initial target, there was no more fuel going into the fuel tank. So recognize that your target, your goal actually acts not just as a destination, but also as a gauge for fuel. It acts as a fuel source. It pulls you towards it. And so Matt Higgins here says the dirty little secret of a successful life is that you can never actually get to a happy place to stop working. He's not saying you can never get to a happy place. He's saying that you don't stop working when you get to that happy place. You don't make it to the top to sit on your butt. In fact, Kobe Bryant said when he got to the NBA, he said games got so easy because all these other players, their dream was to get to the NBA. So when they finally got to the NBA, they stopped working. Whereas his goal was to be the best. So when he got to the NBA, it was a technicality. He was still just out there being the best. So stop trying, stop aiming for more. Success and contentment are built on perpetual pursuit. If something's perpetual, it means it keeps on going, right? It's like the perpetual engine. It just keeps on going. Achieving at even the highest level does not mitigate this. In other words, making $1 million won't change this. Making $100 million won't change this. Making $1 billion won't change this. You will still need a goal afterwards. This is why when people say, but don't the billionaires have enough? Sure, they have enough money, but they're not doing this for the money anymore. The money is simply a measuring stick for them. Understand this. I know that's tough for people to hear because I've heard this conversation at dinner tables. Man, but $1 billion is just too much money. No, you're missing the point. That person stopped being motivated by money literally $1 billion ago. Right? Like Elon Musk is not motivated by money. Jeff Bezos is not motivated by money. They're motivated by growth. They're motivated by the ability to create, to bring to life the things that they think about, to have the power to change and manipulate things in the world. They are motivated by the capacity to be more, do more, and have more. That's what motivates them. Because if they stop, what happens is they fall into a state of depression. Think about that. Now, there's been tremendous research around this, and that research says that people, the way they feel after a big achievement, it was written that to be fully engaged, we need to experience an ongoing sense of growth on the job, right? Like this is what it says. To be fully engaged, we need to experience an ongoing sense of growth on the job. So we have to keep growing. It is very simple. The formula is grow or die. So I want to know for you, do you feel the same way, right? Do you believe that you're either growing or you're dying? Because I want to know, leave it in the comments below if you think that you're either growing or you're dying. And do billionaires, like just out of curiosity, do you think billionaires should even be a thing? Do you think people should ever even be able to make $1 billion, or like when they get to $1 billion, they have to give it away? What's your opinion on that? Leave that in the comment below. I know that's a totally side question, but I'm just curious. And again, if you're a first time here, what's up? We drop videos like this every single day where it's just me going through. These are the books that I'm reading and I'm studying, and this is how I study. I'll go back, I will start to dissect, I'll start to pick things apart, and I go and I look for comprehension. So if you enjoy these kind of videos, leave a like, leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and come back tomorrow for another fresh video.